Hello friends and welcome to today's video. It is prime crafting season because the holidays are approaching and once again I have overestimated myself and underestimated my time. Therefore, I have a lot of crafting to do if I want to finish my Christmas gifts in time. So in this video, we're going to be hanging out. We're going to be knitting some Christmas gifts. If you guys have been here recently, you would know that I have been obsessed with felting and obsessed with slippers, and to no surprise, we are making more slippers in this video. In fact, I already started my next pair. But other than that, thank you so much for joining. I hope that you have a cozy craft that you can work on during this video. As always, if you're working on a gift, let me know what you're making below, or if you're just crafting a fun project, also let me know because your girl is already brainstorming the next craft she's gonna get into. But let's get straight to crafting. We have a lot of knitting to do. What we're working on currently is another pair of sailor slippers. I just finished a pair for my dad in my most recent video, and we're straight on to another pair for Alex for Christmas. I am so glad that these turned out the way I wanted them to, because this is what my Christmas crafting was revolved around. The only difference with these ones is the size, and then I'm gonna be doing stripes, whereas the last one I just did solid colors, which honestly made it a little bit easier, or like was a nice way to ease into a new pattern. I'm just not very experienced with stripes, to be honest, but at least for this beginning part, which is just the heel, it was no problem. I'm honestly questioning the colors that I chose. I don't know if it was a fault of like my imagination or a fault of picking the colors online. Probably the first one. I don't really know what I was thinking, but I also do think it will look better once it's felted. But I'm doing kind of this limey green, this brown, and then I think this might be the trim, this dark green, which is left over from my dad if I have enough, and then the dark gray for the sole of the shoe is the plan. So far, all I have started are both heels. Well, I finished both heels. So we're just gonna pick up where we left off. We're going to connect and make the front top panels, and honestly, I'm expecting this to go by way faster because, as I always say, so much easier the second time going through a pattern. It makes such a difference when you're familiar with it, but maybe that's just me. friends. Happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving on the day I'm filming this. No idea when this is actually going to be uploaded, so probably in December. But I have a very messy knitting update for you. You can probably tell by this that your girl did a little mess up. I feel like the stripes have actually been going a lot better than I thought they were gonna be going, so that is the bright side. The not so bright side is that I was in fact knitting at my Thanksgiving dinner and because I was yapping away and not paying close enough attention and being as like cautious, I used to like count all my rows every point in the pattern when it told you to. I don't know, maybe doing the stripes made me like overconfident, like, oh, it's just groups of 4, like I can count in 4s, and then I counted wrong. And so I did like, I think I did 3 extra stripes and then I had to undo them, and now I'm redoing them. And it was looking kind of weird. I was like, this is a little shorter than I feel like it should be, and then I counted it and I was like, oh, I am 4 rows short. I've messed up so much that I've unfortunately become kind of a pro. Okay, I won't say a pro, but I've become a lot more comfortable at like undoing my work and like re-picking up the stitches. I was really like hated doing that in the beginning. I thought it was like genuinely impossible to do it without dropping a stitch, but I think I've messed up so much now that I've learned how to do it somewhat accurately. Let me make sure I'm counting right this time. Okay. Now I did it right. Oh my gosh, now it's all tangled. One thing about this pattern that I was not used to is that it has me switching colors on the wrong side when I'm purling. And I've only ever switched colors before when I was doing it on the right side. So I genuinely thought that was the only way to switch colors before, and I thought I was reading the pattern wrong. But I checked and you can in fact switch colors on the wrong side. So that's something I learned. I learned that I should in fact count all my rows to save myself from the future pain of having to undo work, because that was low-key humiliating. Like I got however many rows done at my Thanksgiving dinner over like hour or whatever, and then I basically undid all the work because I was too lazy to count it in the beginning. I'm like, what was I thinking? The other thing that happened at Thanksgiving is, I think I told you guys how I'm like not super sure about this color combo, and like I don't really remember what I was going for when I picked out the colors. I was kind of uneasy about it. Honestly, the more I've knit with it, the more I've gotten like used to it, and I haven't been hating it. I brought it to Thanksgiving. My cousin did not mean this in a mean way at all, but she was like, oh, it's like Shrek. And I was like, it is like Shrek. But lucky for Alex, he actually really likes Shrek, so I might have to roll with that and say I super duper intentionally picked this color combo, this beautiful color combo, because I just want his slippers to remind him of Shrek. The other thing I will say is that since doing the stripes, which I was a little bit nervous about, I actually found out that doing the stripes is kind of has an upside to it. Like, switching the colors, it kind of sucks, and then it sucks having like to carry 2 balls or whatever this is, rat's nests of yarn, is a little bit annoying, but it's so much easier to count what row I'm on. I say this after I just told you the story about how I miscounted, but that's because I was overconfident. If you're just like not overconfident and you actually check your work the amount you're supposed to, you'll be fine. I was distracted. I was not locked into my knitting. But this makes me feel a lot better, because when I was doing it the first time, making the solid slipper, I was just thinking to myself like, this is gonna be a whole nother thing when I try to do it with the stripes, and I can now happily say it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. To decrease for the top of the slipper, and I counted this time, so we were doing it correctly. I really wish I didn't do this. I'm like walking around like, hey guys, it's been a little while. but I actually got a good amount done. Once again, this happened the last time I knit the slipper. It just curls so much that it looks really funky and it's really hard to imagine the shape or what this is gonna be, but I would say I've made it maybe like a third of the way done with the sole of it. I only went one size down for this pair, but it feels like maybe just quicker because I'm familiar with the pattern now, but it feels smaller to me, like more than a size, but hopefully it works out. I'm really excited about the stripes. Like the more I see it, the more I'm excited to see what it'll look like when it's felted, because I think it'll look even better then. But this is where we're at right now. The thing is, I leave Seattle and go back to California tomorrow at like 9, so I'm gonna get as much of this done as I can, but this is my visiting home project. Since this is a gift for Alex, I don't want to be knitting it in front of him. So I think I'm going to probably end up finishing this the next time I come back to Seattle. So I want to get to like a good stopping point, since it'll probably be about 2 weeks until I pick this up again. Even though of course I can just mark it in my pattern, I don't want to like forget and then go through the stress of figuring everything out. So hopefully I can get to a good stopping point. Ideally, I don't know if this is gonna happen though, it would be really lovely if I could finish the entire sole and like bind off, and then that way all I have to do is seam this slipper together and then of course make the other slipper the next time I'm here. But yeah, not super ideal. I kind of wanted to finish these slippers while I was here, but it was pretty unrealistic to do so. I'm literally supposed to be leaving for the airport like right now, but I just got to a good stopping point. All I have to do is decrease on the sole and then I'll be done. I guess I still need to do the I-cord on this one, but we're just going to cast it off onto some yarn for now, and then I'll work on this in a couple weeks when I'm back here. Hello friends, I'm clearly back at my apartment now and I'm starting a new knitting project. I'm a little bit nervous about this one, but I really want some gloves because I will be traveling to Japan. It's gonna be a little chilly and I think having some gloves would be so helpful. However, I leave in 3 days now. Is this possible to make in 3 days? Maybe. I'm not really sure. I found a free pattern on Ravelry that I will link in the description for fingerless gloves, which I think makes it a lot more possible because you don't have to separate quite so much. You just separate for like the thumb and do a little bit extra, but you don't have to make a bunch of fingers, right? So this is called Free Fingerless Mittens pattern. And this is what they're gonna look like, hopefully. I might make them a little bit shorter though, which may speed up the process. I have this yarn. It's the, actually I don't remember what it's called, but I bought a bunch of like mohair yarn every time I would go to different yarn shops because I really wanted to try knitting with mohair, and then I got it to make this certain scarf. Then I like am not capable of making the scarf because it's too complicated, and so I just haven't used it, but I feel like this would be perfect for some gloves. So that's what we're trying to do now. I did, embarrassingly enough, try to start making these gloves already, but I was using circular knitting needles. They were like a little bit too big for the, not for the pattern, but for the yarn I was using, and so I'm sizing down the needles and the yarn to make it like a little tighter, I guess, which I think will unfortunately make this a longer project, but we'll see how it goes. And I did have to whip out the double pointed needles, which I actually don't think I really like knitting with, but we'll see how it goes. The only time I knit with these was when I was making these little like sumo wrestler keychains, and I remember thinking it was really cool. And that yarn was even thinner than this, and I was making something even smaller. So I do feel like this has to be doable, but at the same time, it just might not be the most fun knit in the world. I didn't do a full gauge swatch, but I did like a portion of it. So with that, I'm gonna be making like a couple sizes up for my pattern, but then again, my gloves should be like stretchy. So we're just gonna start. Cross our fingers that this works. Show you my progress. It looks absolutely insane, but I think I'm doing it right. Like, it's working, but like I almost poke my eye out every single time I'm knitting with this. But this is what it's looking like. It's coming along quite nice. I sized down a little bit with my gauge, so I'm using smaller yarn and needles. So I'm knitting a size medium instead of, I would probably be like an extra small typically. So it is gonna take a little bit longer because the yarn I'm using is so thin, but I think it will be well worth it because it is looking so gorgeous so far. And I think I'm just gonna keep knitting stockinette for a little while. I'm supposed to knit it for like 4 inches, but I think I might do like 3 inches just because I don't need it to be like a super long glove. And then there's a little bit of shaping, but it should be relatively simple, hopefully. I am a little worried because it's already taking so long because it's so thin. I'm getting pretty doubtful that I'll be able to finish this before I leave. Right now, I'm kind of hoping that I'll be able to finish at least like 1 glove, but guys, who knows? Because like right now I'm only doing stockinette, so it's pretty easy, but like once I have to start decreasing or whatever, that's gonna be a whole nother story. But it has actually been so long since I've knit like this with the 4 needles. It's definitely not super ideal. I will admit, I already started looking for a short needle set. It's interchangeable. Added it to my Christmas wish list because I genuinely think I'm gonna stab myself. And I also, since I think I'm probably going to end up knitting this on the plane, I am a little bit unsure that, I don't know, I'm just like paranoid. Like, what if they take this from me at TSA? I'd be like actually devastated. But that's my update. currently doing the thing that I do most that is not a great idea, but I'm editing and knitting. Clearly, I've made quite a dent in this pattern, which I'm very happy about. Alex was actually getting a new phone today and it ended up taking 3 hours, but those 3 hours turned into dedicated knitting time for me at the AT&T store. So I put a couple inches on my glove and I'm really hopeful that I'll be able to finish at least one of them tonight. And my biggest concern was it like not fitting great, but obviously like I can try it on a little bit here. So I'm feeling pretty good now. I started increasing a little bit to do some of the shaping for like the thumb. And I do think I'm gonna have to like mess with it a little bit just because I didn't use the recommended yarn and needle size, but either way, they're really stretchy. So I think it'll be pretty forgiving and they're not even like super tight on me. But I am planning on bringing this project with me on my travels and finishing it there, which I wasn't planning on in the beginning, but honestly, I have such a long flight that like I'm probably gonna want to knit and watch a show anyways, so it'll also double as entertainment and I've already thought ahead. And if I finish this, like both gloves, obviously both gloves, if I finish that, then I think I'm gonna make a Sophie scarf. Do you guys think I'll have enough to make another glove and a Sophie scarf? I think I will if I make a really tiny scarf, which is the plan. And then maybe I'll be able to wear it there by the end of the trip. That's the hope. But I've gotten a lot more comfortable knitting like this, although I still feel like I'm gonna poke my eye out. But I am happy to say I think I've improved a bit. The only thing is I need to keep knitting so that I can get my rings back. Because as I said, we were at the store. I did not have stitch markers with me. So my rings were my stitch markers, which always comes in handy. But like, I mean, they're not stitch markers, so they don't work great as stitch markers. I don't know where all my stitch markers are going. I'm literally losing all of them. I only have 4 left. I think this is a sign I have too many projects in the works currently. Okay guys, so this is kind of a big deal. I've been kind of mindlessly knitting and we're gonna count and see if I did too much. And I very well might have, but I don't think I know how to go backwards with what we have going on here. So wish me luck. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 46, 28, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 52, 53. Wait, did I count this? I don't think that was even an option. Okay, I'm supposed to have 58 stitches. So either way, something's not right. 6 times? So I'm supposed to have... okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think I know. No, because I'm so confused. I think I've increased a total of 6 times. And I think I'm supposed to increase a total of 7 times. But even once I reach 7 times... still don't think I have the right amount of stitches. We'll just try to count it again in a second and see what happens because that's all I can really do right now. Okay guys, I have an unfortunate update. You're not gonna like to hear what I have to say, but I'm multiple stitches off and we're just gonna go with it because I feel like it's gonna fit just fine. But I'm supposed to have, okay, we're a lot off. I'm supposed to have 58 stitches. I have 55. Even if I increase again, which I'm not supposed to, I still would have 57. So something's wrong. And then also between these 2 stitch markers, I'm supposed to have 14 stitches. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to have 14 stitches. I have 20. not looking too good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to take off 14 stitches in between, like centered between these two. It's really terrible, guys. It's terrible what I'm doing. That's what we're gonna like hold on a separate string, and those are gonna be the stitches we're gonna pick up later for the thumb hole. I don't know. These are to keep my hands warm, so it really should be okay, but I was gonna use a crochet hook to put that on, but so much easier with a tapestry needle. So that's the route we're gonna go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Perfect. Now all we do is stockinette for 5 inches, 5.25 inches. Once again though, I might do less because now this is all just my opinion. I'm getting more and more hopeful by the minute that I'll be able to maybe finish this glove tonight. Maybe not the thumb hole. The thumb hole seems kind of like difficult, but 5 inches? Maybe. Okay, now I might need another needle. This is going kind of crazy. Spot, new day, amazing update because my first glove is almost already done. I'm feeling a lot more confident that I'll be able to finish this and use it there. Look how cute. And honestly, this is way longer than I meant for it to be. Like, I think I genuinely would have been happy with it being like I think I thought it was gonna be like this long, but I guess I'll just be super warm. This feels kind of like edgy, to be honest, but all I have to do now is pick up the stitches here and knit a little bit. I don't think I need to knit it that long. Like, you know, you can kind of just do it to your preference, but in the pattern, I think hers is a little bit longer than I'm gonna make mine. So I think I'll be finishing this tonight. I do think this will be so cute under like a sweater or something. To be honest, will I really need it? I don't know. I think it actually might be warmer there than I think, but I'm gonna wear this at some point now that I made it. the next day and I have an exciting thing to show you. We finished one glove and I'm really happy with how this turned out. I especially like how it looks when you wear it under a sweater. It kind of reminds me of like Lululemon, you know, like thumb holes. Like it just adds kind of a little bit of warmth and a little bit of style. I think I'll be able to wear it with kind of like any sweater. It'll just keep me warm and it won't affect if I have to go on my phone, which is the main thing. Plus, I am not good at making the fingers. This was not that bad, but I can't imagine if I had to do that 5 times and like for a pinky finger. So this is the route we're going and I'm happy with it. And I think I will be able to make another glove and wear it on my trip that I'm leaving for in less than 24 hours. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, for knitting with me, and for crafting or hanging out with me. As always, if you are making something during this video, make sure to comment and let me know. And if you want to stay up to date with my felted slippers that I left back in Washington, I will definitely have updates on those on my Instagram. That's where I post all of my crafty creations. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, for hanging out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.